I used to actually look forward to dinner. It was the one part of my routine where the house felt steady, calm, predictable, almost peaceful. But ever since we got married, those dinners slowly morphed into the most tense 15 minutes of my entire day. It started small, so tiny that I laughed the first week. Her son, who was only 7, would sit there and just stare at me. No expression, no blink, just this weird, heavy, empty stare like he was staring straight through me. At first, I assumed it was shyness, that he just needed time to adjust. Kids don't always warm up right away. I tried to engage with him, tried smiling at him, asking him about school, what cartoons he liked, if he enjoyed the pasta his mother made. He never said anything, not even once. He would just drag his spoon slowly around his plate without actually touching the food, while keep his eyes locked onto me. His mom dismissed it completely. She brushed it off like nothing. She laughed and said he was just observing, that kids go through phases. But the longer it continued, the less it felt like any kind of phase at all. There was something genuinely cold about the way he looked at me. It wasn't anger. It wasn't curiosity. It was just this dead stillness. Like he already knew something I didn't. Something nobody had said. And every night, I pretended not to notice how tightly my body would tense when I sat down. I forced myself to eat normal, to act like nothing was weird, to pretend it didn't bother me. Until one night, the entire energy shifted. That night carried a different weight the moment we sat down. There was no TV humming in the background, no music. Even the noise from the street felt strangely muted. I remember thinking how unnaturally silent everything felt. My wife was smiling, but it wasn't natural. It was tight, controlled, polite, like she was trying to keep something held together. The boy sat across from me like always, but this time his stare wasn't empty. There was something pointed behind it. Focus. He didn't look like he was observing anymore. He looked like he was waiting. Halfway through dinner, he finally moved his hand toward his plate, slowly with intention. I told myself maybe this was finally the night he'd speak. Maybe the silence was finally about to break. But instead, he lifted a small folded napkin from underneath his plate. He held it carefully with both hands, and without ever looking down, he slid it across the table toward me. I honestly thought it would be a drawing, something innocent, maybe his way of finally connecting after all this time. I thought maybe we were finally making progress. But when I unfolded that napkin under the table, my entire body froze. It wasn't a drawing. It wasn't a written message. It was a photograph, an old one I recognized instantly. Something from a part of my life I never spoke about to my wife. My hand was shaking so badly I could barely breathe. How could he have possibly found this? And why now? I looked back up at him, and he finally blinked. His eyes dropped for the first time, but not from fear. It looked like relief, like his assignment was completed. My wife was watching me closely, like she wasn't waiting for the picture. She was waiting specifically for the way I would react. I asked where he got it. She didn't answer. She just said in this calm, unshaken tone, "He wanted you to see it. He needed you to." My pulse was hammering in my ears. That photo was almost 12 years old. A crime scene I had buried. A version of myself I deleted. A moment where I made a choice that should have ruined me. But no one ever connected it back to me. I spent years living like it never existed. And yet there was in my hands, staring back at me, just like that boy had been staring for weeks. My wife broke the silence. "He doesn't forget faces," she whispered, "even when they change." The boy stood up quietly, still without a single word. He walked around to my side of the table, placed his tiny hand over the photo, and tapped the corner twice, as if confirming something, as if telling me his waiting period was officially over. My throat tightened. My wife didn't argue. She didn't panic. She simply said, "You thought the past would never find you. But it did. It sat at this table." And in that moment, I finally understood that child wasn't staring because he was curious.